Hello and welcome to the Tigger House Foundation conversation regarding the New Jersey Marijuana Decriminalization Bill. Before we get into the topic of discussion for our viewers at home, if you enjoy the content that we create here at Tigger House and would like to see more, be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on our social media platforms for more information. Today, I'd like to welcome Assemblywoman Serena DiMaso, a Republican Party politician representing the 13th Legislative District in the New Jersey General Assembly, and Assemblyman Benjie Wimberly, a Democratic Party politician who represents the 35th Legislative District in the New Jersey General Assembly. I am your moderator, Carla Scarabino, and I represent Tigger House Foundation. Tigger House was inspired by the devastation and suffering of a family who lost their son, Tigger, at 25 years of age to an overdose. Our mission is to save lives from the dangers of addiction through substance abuse awareness, prevention, and education. Our main initiative is our Student Alliance, which is comprised of New Jersey high school students who serve as positive role models among their peers in living a healthy, fulfilling, and substance-free life while making a difference in their communities. Assemblywoman DiMaso, Assemblyman Wimberly, thank you so much for agreeing to join us today and explain the Marijuana Decriminalization Bill. I hope I could get through that again.
It's a mouthful.
As it pertains to our minors. We're very grateful for the opportunity to learn about this bill and gain clarification of the intent behind it. So I'm going to start with the Assemblyman. Please explain the current bill as it pertains to minors and help us to explain why it was proposed.
As far as minors is concerned, I just want to first say that there was no intention for the use of cannabis for anyone under 21 years old. No different than, we use for alcohol or any other, substance that we consider a contraband, be it, vaping or, tobacco, anything along that line. So that's the one thing I wanted to make, perfectly clear. The issue of the fact that we are addressing the illegal use and how the sentencing or the issues are, in fact, is we addressed it due to the disparity of Black and brown people being arrested at a much higher rate than whites when it came to being charged with marijuana. That was one of the main concerns. And more or less, that when we do address it, that we deal more with intervention and counseling rather than incarceration and punishment, and having a lifelong record that can impact future job opportunities, education, housing, and things of that nature.
Makes sense. Okay, Assemblywoman DiMaso, where does the bill stand now as it's related to youth? Because I'm under the impression that there has been a couple of changes to the wording of it.
Yes, Assemblyman Conaway introduced a bill which I believe the governor has since signed. It passed our House on Thursday. I think unanimously, correct, Assemblyman?
I believe it was unanimous, yes.
Yeah, so it now allows for parental notification. The previous bill didn't allow for parental notification until a second offense. So now on the first offense, parents will be notified that a student, an underage person was in fact caught with, strong words caught, but caught with an illegal substance, whether it be alcohol or cannabis. And if I may, I'd like to echo the Assemblyman's words. This is no way, it should not be construed by any minor that this is giving them permission. The issue is really that we understand that sometimes kids make mistakes and do things, we were all there once, and do things they probably shouldn't. And so we're just trying not to have them be punished for the entirety of their life for a decision they made when, truly they probably didn't really think it through, or maybe peer pressure or whatever the reason is. So this is just why, we all agree that decriminalization of some form is necessary going forward.
Great. And why was it changed? Why was that change made?
I think there was a good amount of reconsideration. I don't think that it was meant to leave out parents. I just think they thought that give the kids a break even at home. But I believe a lot of parents called my office my office phone number was ringing off the hook with parents being upset that, what do you mean I'm not going to find out? So I don't think there was any malintent. I just think it was like another, and I'm not the sponsor of the bill. I just, that's just what I feel. But I think it's so probably Assemblyman Wimberly can probably answer that a little bit better.
Yeah, and I think any bill, and I think we all can agree, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, there's no perfect bill. So,
right.
When people approach me about, look, we should notify, I'm a father of 4. So I would definitely want to be notified, and it made perfect sense to me. So I know I didn't craft a perfect bill, but it was a bill that had been in the works for almost 2.5, 3 years. And, we were open to public suggestions. We were open to suggestions from, both sides of the aisle, the community. And, that was left out. And that was a big piece. But what happens is, I think the legalization of cannabis and the impact that it's going to have on minors is going to become stronger state by state. So we're the 14th state. As you see, New York signed their bill yesterday. Their bill is going to become a little stronger. So it's something that's going to be a continual work in progress that's going to really protect our young people.
Great. And Assemblyman Wimberly, were there any other collaborators on this bill outside of legal? Things like someone related to the public health sector that looked at it in terms of how it affects youth that way?
Yeah, we had multiple hearings throughout the state. And like I said, this was not an overnight bill. This was not a rush bill. This was something when the governor was elected, he initially said he wanted to get done in 100 days. That's was a reality check that nothing gets done in Trenton in 100 days of this impact. So we had impact from everyone, testimony from educators, from religious leaders, community leaders, medical, public health, and other fields, and young folks. We had many people testify with their concerns about the impact it's going to have on them. So I think the hearings worked a lot. And like I said, even though we had hearings, there were still some glitches that had to be, corrected.
Right. I think you answered this, although I am going to ask to both of you. Research shows that marijuana use does have a negative impact on developing brains of minors. Decreased cognitive abilities, loss of IQ, lower educational. You said that there was definitely people who consulted on this, but was this research considered in drafting this bill, especially in making, and I understand what you're saying in the decriminalization of it, but was this also taken into consideration as this bill was drafted?
Definitely on my end, as the original sponsor, it was taken in consideration, but no different, as I said, and someone answered, no different than alcohol. We do not want our young people drinking at 15, 16, 17. We do not want them vaping. We don't want them using tobacco products. And unfortunately, we have to police that and monitor, not just our own kids, but the community when it comes to those issues. So marijuana falls in the same area. It's nothing that I'm going to sit on TV and promote. I tell people personally, I have no intentions to all of a sudden become a marijuana smoker. I'm not a smoker, but I knew the impact that it had when it came to social justice issues. And that was my impetus behind, being behind this bill.
No, we really appreciate that clarification. And I like that it's being said, because I think we all need to hear that. For both of you, is there an infrastructure in place to support the implementation of this bill? For example, will individual towns and counties have to execute, the bill, for example, a database implementation on different offenses, or educating the police officers? Can you, and I'll let you each have a turn answering that, but is that in place, or have there been decisions made about that? I'll start with Assemblywoman DiMaso, if that's okay.
As far as I know, the bill specifically says that none of this should be entered into. Well, if it's entered into anything, it has to be erased upon their 21st birthday. I think it'll be up to. It's not in the bill as far as what I've read. I mean, Assemblyman, you could correct me, but each township will have to probably train their police force to make sure they know what the bill says, make sure they understand the ramifications of the bill. I'm not especially happy with parts of the bill, and the Assemblyman knows that I don't think that the police officers should be held criminally liable for their actions if they search somebody or if they do something, certainly within reason. I mean, we all know that every every group has some bad apples, but I think in the, the police officer's job is to make sure our kids stay safe, and all of us stay safe. So, but I do think that the infrastructure part of it still needs to be worked out somewhat. I know that in Howell Township, the chief of police there years ago started with a program, and he gave people a choice. Here's a program that you could go to, or you could be arrested. Now, again, it wasn't minors; it's people that are adults, legal adults. So, but I think maybe that's kind of thing that we need to put forward. The Assemblyman might have some more information for you. It's his bill.
Yeah, well, basically, the governor has created a Cannabis Regulatory Commission. So this commission is going to work statewide. So individual municipalities will not have to come up with individual rules. They'll be staffed. They'll be working with seminars, public information as far as implementation, development, publicizing rules and regulations. So you will see more public service announcements on this. The Cannabis Regulatory Commission more or less will oversee it, similar to what we have in a casino regulatory commission. So there will not have to be anybody making up individual rules. And I think each municipality, as far as the police are concerned, they also will be getting direction from our Attorney General.
Right. Maybe I was misunderstood. That's what I meant, that they wouldn't make up their own rules. They'd have to be taught what the law is and what's been put out there. But that would fall on the individual police department to make sure their officers are taught what the rules are.
Right. So for example, if I'm 16 and I am given my first warning in maybe Long Branch, New Jersey, and then I get myself over to Asbury Park, and then is that then considered a second warning? Is there a way of an officer knowing that I've had my first warning? Has that been kind of thought about, or is it right now?
I think, no, that's the same thing. The Cannabis Regulatory Commission and the Attorney General, as far as any type of database and stuff like that. So New Jersey is New Jersey. So if your first charge is in North Jersey and your second charge is down at the shore, you still are at a second charge. So there's no
So that will be considered.
Place to place. No, there's no way. I think we need to, like I said, publicize and let our young people know, okay, this is my hometown. I got caught here. But now I'm going to go down to the shore for the weekend, and it's going to be a different case. It's not going to be a different case. It has to be police. Yes. And it's for their own safety. I mean, that's the bottom line. It's for their own safety.
I agree.
I think it might, we don't have all it's worked out yet, but I think it'll probably work very much like if you get a warning from a police officer for a traffic infraction, that goes right attached to and it stays there for a short period of time so that they know. So the next officer that pulls you over says, hey, you already warned for this. Now I'm going to write you a summons. So I would assume that it would work very similarly to that. We just hope that the kids give the right name. So.
Oh boy, something to think about.
They're pretty clever, some of those kids.
And our police have some experience when it comes to drinking and other issues that I think they will be prepared to deal with it. And like I said, the whole warning part of it and stuff like that, I think the training that they'll receive from the Attorney General and training that they will receive within their, departments. I think the bottom line is, we want the safety of not only of the young folks, but also the police. And I do believe that, contrary to what people think, that we do not want to put our police in danger or anyway, when it comes to this. I think they are trained and they will use their better judgment when it comes to this, as they've done in the past with other illegal substances. Absolutely.
Now, in regards to this Cannabis Regulatory Commission, do we know yet who is involved in that? Will they be from different sectors? How is that group going to?
They've named members of it already. I don't have the names in front of me, but I don't think they've completed the commission. But it's going to be, I believe, a cross array of race, gender, professions. But these are all trained people in the area that will best, be able to make the advice when it comes to a commission. And like I said, to any other commission, if you had a transportation commission, you want people who have expertise in that area that will represent us all. And once again, I think this also becomes a thing. I can't speak for the governor, but I think you have to cross along the lines of, party and everything else when it comes to it. So each voice is heard, because everybody has a different position. Everybody has a different opinion. I think everybody's voice needs to be heard.
I agree with you, definitely. As stated in the bill, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't have a lot of experience reading bills, but it said upon the third offense that minors are referred to I think it referenced community organizations. Is this something that the regulatory agency will work on, or do we have an idea of what organizations or resources are going to be recommended? And will there be follow-up at that point that the minors actually either attended or visited these resources?
Yeah, so this was something I thought was important to me. It really was, because each individual municipality will work with the Attorney General to work with nonprofit organizations under these cases. You know, the AG's office will have the supervisory and reporting requirements. So that's the database of it to make sure that these things are in place. But I think it's important that the individual police and municipalities are trained in this. And it's, once again, like I said, it's for the safety of the kids, the ones that are under, 21 years old, and to make sure that, they're in the right direction. And we have to be realistic. Each person under 21 is a different circumstance. We have 18, 19-year-olds who are U.S. Army, enrolled. So you're not going to have the same consequence or reporting that matters for them that you would have for a kid who is, 16 years old in a, sophomore year of high school. So I think the Attorney General's office and each individual agency, police agency, municipal officials will make up things that will fit, accordingly.
Right. And I'm sure that based on the Regulatory Commission, they will, advise for what's in that person's area, like what they need. Was it alcohol? Then this is you live here, this is the group you should talk to. If it's cannabis or something else, here's where you should go. As you said in the past, there could be some underlying reason why a child is doing what they're doing, as opposed to, peer pressure. Maybe they're just, reaching out, asking for some kind of help. And so, hopefully the officers will be trained, and, we'll get some people, right on the scene that will be able to help with those children that need, and they are, they're children, under 18, there's a cry for help. To the Assemblyman's point, 18 to 21, some of them are out there fighting a war. So, everybody's case will be a little bit different.
No, agreed. And I like that part of the bill, because I do think that's very, very important to recognize that we have to figure out what's the right thing to do and not just keep penalizing people. As far as next steps, how can we, as both parents and us as a nonprofit organization, work with the youth to be proactive? What do you see? I'd like to ask each of you, what are things you think you see us doing to kind of help the situation overall? So I'll start with Assemblywoman DiMaso, and then we'll go to Assemblyman Wimberly.
Well, I think you already are doing a great service by putting this out there for your constituents, for the people that you touch every single day. I think that as a nonprofit organization, we need to make sure that people understand that you're out there and that you're there to help them. As a parent, I too am the mom of 4. My kids are a little bit older, I think, than the Assemblyman's, and I lived through I'm all past all those crazy years, I hope. But as a parent, we just need to make sure that we are paying attention to what our children are doing every single day. You're not their friend, you're the parent. Where are you going? Who are you with? Continue to ask those questions and ask them, how was your day? How is it, especially now during COVID, when they're not able to maybe be with some of their friends, and they're not in school all day like they are used to, and they're not playing sports. I think that it's important that, we stay involved in our children's life. That's why I was kind of a little bit, not kind of, Elizabeth, a little bit, the Assemblyman knows I was very upset about the first round of the bill with the parents not being included. And I'm so delighted that it got fixed, and now the parents are included. And because, and I've said it a million times, a lot of people say it takes a village, and the parents are the most important part of that village. And so together, we can work to make sure our kids are protected and safe. Again, I don't think this bill, loud and clear for those students that are listening, this does not give you permission to use cannabis or drink alcohol under the age of 21. It just keeps you from being punished for your whole life. Trust me when I tell you, and I'm sure that the Assemblyman knows better than I, because of his job is, he's been involved in students' lives for a really long time. This one decision, the decisions you make determine the life you lead. And we're trying to make sure that this doesn't hurt you going forward. So if you're listening out there, this isn't permission. This is just a little help in case you make a mistake.
Good point. And Assemblywoman, I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, and you know what? The Assemblywoman hit a lot of valid points and points I didn't even think about. But the one thing you can do is maintain involvement with the Cannabis Regulatory Commission. And I think you guys are, way ahead. I think you guys definitely need to continue to be involved as far as public service announcements, urging your elected officials to have public hearings continuous, because this is a work in progress. We don't know exactly how this is going to be a year from now. I remember when vaping first came around, I was not a big fan. I've been a high school coach for 32 years, and something about vaping did not hit me in the right way. And I still think now it's not even being addressed as it should be. It's an ongoing issue that we have to address. But we have to keep the pressure on our local officials, our county, our state officials to make sure that we stay updated on these issues. The Assemblywoman had a great point. COVID-19 has changed this whole thing. You probably have more kids dealing with stress, mental depression issues, mental and physical abuse than we've ever had. And this is something that's not being said enough. And a lot of them, their runaway from these issues is alcohol, drugs, tobacco, vaping. And this is where I think you guys could come in and be very proactive, because this is not a normal situation. This is a situation that none of us has faced. And unfortunately, I think we have to deal with this a little longer. As we see, we have a 37% uptick in COVID, and they say it's fatigue. Well, unfortunately, our children are probably mentally fatigued more than anything else, and drugs are usually a resource to release ourselves, or alcohol or tobacco or other vices that we do not condone.
I agree with you 100%. And I think the message that both of you conveyed is so important to our organization. Again, we agree with this decriminalization. People make mistakes. So I'm glad to see the positive steps. I'm glad, like you said, that the bill now does include letting parents know what's happening. And I hope that we can be there to get people the help they need. Assembly Wimberly, do you feel now at this point that the bill actually is a positive step towards the social justice among the Black and Brown communities that you wanted to address? Are you happy with the way it's going? Do you think it is going to work?
Well, on paper it is, so unfortunately, in the states that I've visited when it came to cannabis, when you talk about Colorado, California, and some other places, the numbers haven't changed. The same amount of arrest. It's a disparity when it comes to arrests of Black and Browns, and particularly Black young men in these states, even after the legalization. So that's why I say this is a work in progress. It's a mindset. This is why we have to work on not being anti-police, but making police more aware of these numbers. Because if you look at, African-Americans make up 13%, or so of, our population here, but the numbers do not add up. It just does not add up. So there are other people who have already been given warnings, who've been getting away without getting a criminal charge on our record. So this is just a mindset that we have to work across America. And like I said, it's not a mindset because you have bad actors on both sides. You have officers that may be African-American or Latino, and they may have been infringed on the rights of some of these young people. And then you may have had a white officer who have given a break, who knew Johnny, who was on the basketball team, who made a bad decision, but said, Johnny, you know what, I'm gonna give you a break this time. So we just have to change the mindset and the mentality, but it's a lot of work to go. And it's a situation that I'm not pleased with yet.
Okay. Is there any other information that either of you would like to share with our viewers, with our parents, with our students out there?
Assemblywoman DiMaso, you really hit it out the park with talk to your kids. Do not be your kids' friends. Like, I have 4 sons. I am not your friend. I'm your dad. No. I am not going to be your buddy. I'm going to be brutally honest to you when I have to. And when you need a hug, I'm going to be there for the hug and tell you I love you. But the bottom line is talk to your kids. Don't assume they're okay. During this COVID season, I think it's so difficult that we have to reach out and check on our young folks, maybe the kid who used to come over your house, and due to COVID, they haven't been able to come over your house. Just as an adult, you may want to give a call, check in, Zoom, whatever it may be, but be vocal and be loud with them. Our kids do not need coddling when it comes to drugs and alcohol. They need truth. They need somebody who's going to be responsible and somebody that they're going to respect for, being upfront with them. If you dance around the issue, you know what? They'll dance right around you. So step up as adults, as leaders, and as parents.
Right. You have time to be their friend. you know, my oldest is 32. I am now his friend. He has just had his own baby, so he really understands what, and he said to me, Mom, now I know why you were such a nut. Because, I mean, his son's only 6 months old, but now he understands what it means to be a parent. And so the rest of us have to understand what it means to be a parent. And sometimes it's not fun. Sometimes it makes it really hard, but in the end, you'll be really happy that you stood your ground with your kids. So I think that that's an important message to send out there. And Assemblyman, you're right. If you have a young man or a young lady that used to come visit you or play with your, come hang out. They don't play anymore, they hang out, hang out with your kid, and they haven't been around, yeah, maybe just check in on them. Or if there's somebody that you know is going through a hard time or their mom or dad has lost their job, check in with that kid too. Because maybe their mom and dad are just a little bit preoccupied. And, again, I'm going back to, it takes a village. And so especially during COVID, we need to make sure that we take care of each other. There was a post today on Facebook, and if you give me a second, I will bring it up. It's about an African tribe, and the photographer, an anthropologist, came and he put a basket of fruit near a tree trunk and told them the first child to reach the tree will get the basket. Well, when they started to walk, they all held hands and arrived at the tree trunk at the same time. And when he asked, why did you do it that way? They said, Ubuntu, U-B-U-N-T-U. And they said, what that means is, how can one of us be happy while the rest are miserable? So, I mean, that really is a great message for us to send out, that how can one of us be happy? So to your point about social justice, how can one of us be happy when the rest are miserable? We have to work together, educate each other, make sure we all understand that it doesn't matter what color your skin on is, your heart is what matters, right? So I think that's the important thing. And if we do that, we will, Ubuntu, we'll be really much better off.
No, I agree. And I echo that sentiment. And we've seen at Tigger House that people are struggling. And we actually have an addiction navigator. And we encourage anyone in the community to call us just to talk, because I think that it's checking in on people, especially our students. We've been very fortunate. We meet them still every week and just check in, and we have mentors that do that. So very, very important. I am so grateful for the opportunity we had, because I think that by hearing from one another, like, as you said, Assemblyman Wimberly, voices need to be heard. And I think that sometimes when we look at our world, we don't understand what's happening around us. And I think it was so important to hear from both of you and understand this bill and understand that together we can make New Jersey and our community a better place. Before we wrap up, I just want to make sure that any viewers that like what they're seeing will follow us on social media so we can continue these discussions. We will have links available to our YouTube channel, to our social media. And again, I just want to give my sincere thanks to each of you, because I think that you really are working hard to make our community a better place for everyone. And I hope that if you need anything, you call upon us to help you with that, because that's really all we want at the end of the day.
Well, I want to echo the Assemblyman's word. Please keep in touch with the Regulatory Commission and us, and we'll make sure that you guys, because your voice needs to be heard there as well. And you have a good opportunity to help everyone.
Thank you. And thank you again for all your hard work. I know this was definitely something that you both put a lot of time and effort and your hearts into, and it definitely shows that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Carla.